You might not feel completely different after 28 days, but I can almost guarantee this. You are not the same person you were when you started this reset. And if you're just hopping in now, go back to day one and work your way through, and you'll see what I'm saying. So, welcome back. This is day 29 of your Money Mindset Reset. Yesterday, we talked about what gets passed down and what it means to decide that the cycle stops here. Today, we're going to slow down a bit. Before we get to tomorrow's final day, I want us to actually stop and look at what's happened. Not the highlight reel version, but the honest one. Because the biggest changes from the last 28 days probably don't feel dramatic. They're more subtle than that. Maybe it's a thought you caught before it ran away with you. Maybe it was a decision you made differently. A fear that showed up, and for the first time, you didn't let it fully take over. Those things count, and today is all about seeing them clearly. I want to say something before we go through what's changed because I think it reframes the whole 28 days in a way that matters. Most financial content teaches you the mechanics of money, how to budget, how to save, how to invest, the basic functions. And that's not really what this reset was. This reset was about something deeper than mechanics. It was about understanding the internal relationship you have with money, how that relationship formed, what it's been doing to you, and how to change it. Because money doesn't just function in your bank account. It functions in your beliefs, your fears, your self-worth, your relationships, your sense of what you deserve, and what's possible for you. Money heals or wounds depending on the relationship you have with it. And most of us have been carrying wounds we didn't fully understand because nobody taught us to look there. That's what the last 28 days have been. Not a course in personal finance, a course in understanding yourself through the lens of money. The shift from how do I manage money to how does money relate to who I am is the most important transition in financial growth. Most people never make it. If you've been here for 28 days, you have. When I look at what shifted for me over the work it took to build this reset, and this has genuinely been years in the making, not just 28 days, the biggest thing is fear. It's not gone. I want to be honest about that, but it's different. I don't feel stuck in it the same way I used to. What changed is a core belief that I can figure it out. If I need more income, I can find a way to create it. If something unexpected happens, I can handle it. That sounds simple, but for someone who spent years feeling like money was something that happened to her rather than something she could actively work with, it's actually enormous. When you believe you can create resources, you stop feeling trapped by the ones you currently have. The fear is still there sometimes, but it's not in charge anymore. The shift from I don't have enough to I can find a way to create what I need, that's not just a mindset change. It's a change in how you experience your own agency. And that changes every decision that follows. I'm also more aware now of what I have and what I have access to. That sounds basic, but it isn't. I can make decisions faster, not because I've stopped thinking them through, but because I know more about how to find the information when I need it. And I know my own values well enough to filter things through that more quickly. I know when to pause before spending. I know when something is worth the cost and when it isn't. That awareness used to feel harder to access. And the pause itself, the one we talked about in day 25, the abandoned cart strategy, the deliberate space between wanting something and buying it, well, that's become automatic now. Not every time, but more often than before. And more often than before is progress. To continue to be completely transparent and honest with you, I still struggle with money conversations. I haven't hidden that at all, particularly when they involve shared finances or another person's perspective. It's part of why keeping my finances largely separate from my husband's works for us right now. Reducing the frequency of those conversations reduces the friction. That's not a solved problem, it's a managed one. And I think that's an important distinction. Not everything always gets resolved, and pretending otherwise would undermine everything this reset has been built on. Some things you just manage. Some things you work on over time. Some things you find structures around that reduce their impact on your daily life. That's not failure. That's being realistic about where you are and making intelligent choices within it. Progress isn't the elimination of every struggle. It's the ability to see your struggles clearly, to name them honestly, and to make conscious choices about how you work with them, rather than letting them run you without your awareness. One of the most concrete changes I can point to is the moment between a thought and a response. When a fear comes up that's really about my old life, a reaction that belongs to a version of me shaped by experiences that are no longer my present, I catch it more often now. Not every time, but often enough that I've started to recognize the pattern. I can take a breath. I can remind myself that was then. This is now. The circumstances that created this reaction are not the circumstances that I'm in now. That space between old thought arriving and me deciding what to do with it, well, that's the gap. That's where change actually lives. And it's not dramatic. It doesn't feel like a breakthrough every time. But that pause, practiced consistently, is what prevents the past from writing your future. And then there's the thing that might be the most significant shift of all, even though it's the quietest. I give myself more grace now. I don't punish myself for mistakes the way I used to. I don't hold past me to a standard she didn't have the tools to meet. I don't replay old decisions looking for where I went wrong as if identifying the failure point will somehow fix it retroactively. My past self was pretty brutal toward me, unforgiving, relentless in the way she cataloged what I should have done differently. And I've had to learn slowly and imperfectly that growth doesn't come from that. It comes from awareness and permission. Permission to have not known what you didn't know. Permission to have made the decisions that you made with what you had available to you at that time. Permission to be different now without owing an apology for who you were before. That's not letting yourself off the hook. That's just being honest about how learning works. What's one thing that feels different for you after these 28 days? It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be fully formed. Just one thing that shifted in how you think, how you feel, or how you show up around money. I'd love to hear it. Here's the thing about awareness you've built over the last 28 days. It needs to be used or it fades. Not through obsessive tracking or constant monitoring, but through continued attention. Noticing when old patterns try to reassert themselves. asking the questions. Asking the questions this reset has given you. Returning to the journal prompts when something comes up that you don't know how to hold. The work doesn't end tomorrow. Tomorrow we close the reset, but the work continues for as long as you choose to keep doing it. And the fact that you've made it to day 29 tells me something important about you. You're someone who shows up, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it asks more of you than you expected. That quality, that showing up, is the most important financial habit you have. So let's get to those 4 prompts for a journal today. First, what feels different for me now compared to day 1? You don't have to overthink this. Just what kind of pops out to you, the first thing that comes when you ask yourself about that honestly. Second, what do I understand now that I didn't before? Whether it's about money, about yourself, about the connection between the two. Third, what am I still working on? Without judgment. Name it plainly, not as a failure, as an honest next chapter. Fourth, how have I shown up differently for myself over the last 28 days? Even in the smallest ways, even in moments nobody else would ever notice. How are you different? Because even the smallest shifts are still shifts, and shifts sustained over time become who you are. You don't need a dramatic transformation to have made real progress. You just need to be different in the moments that matter, in the pause before the decision, in the thought you caught before it took over, in the conversation you had that you would have avoided before, and maybe most importantly, in the grace you gave yourself instead of the punishment. That's real. That counts. And it happened because you showed up for 29 days and you did the work. I'm so proud of you. You have more control than you think. You've got this. I'll see you tomorrow for day 30, the final day of your Money Mindset Reset. We're going to talk about what comes next, not as an ending, but as a launch pad, because everything that you've built over the last 29 days, that's the foundation for what you do from here. I'll see you then.